All right, let's start by defining a new object, can eat. We use the object literal syntax. And in this object, we add one method called eat. Now here we can reduce the hunger. So this.hunger minus minus, and do a simple console.log eating. So we're defining one feature as an object. Now similarly, we can define another feature. So can walk. This time we're going to add the walk method and simply do a console.log walking. Now we can compose these objects together to create a person that can eat and walk. So in ES6 we have a new method that is object.assign, and we can use this to copy the properties and methods from one object to another. So we pass an empty object as the target and then pass one or more source objects. So if we pass can eat here, this object.assign will copy all the properties and methods that we have defined in can eat into this blank object. Now we can add more sources here. So we can add can walk as well. And with this, our empty object will end up being the combination of these two different objects. So let's store that in person and log it on the console. Now save the changes. So here's our person object with two methods, eat and walk. Now if we're using a constructor function, we can still use this technique. So let's define a constructor called person. Here we can add any properties and methods specific to person objects. And then after that, instead of passing an empty object as the first argument here, we can pass person.prototype as the target object. And we don't need the return value anymore. So we have basically modified the prototype of person and added the capability to eat and walk. Now, next time we create a person object, that person will have these capabilities. So new person, save. Now, here's our person object. In its prototype, we have the eat and walk methods. Now, let's say tomorrow we're going to add two new objects in this application, goldfish and duck. Both the goldfish and duck should have the capability to swim. So we can define a new feature, constant, can swim. And here we add the swim method. Very simple implementation, console.log swim. And then we can define a new constructor like goldfish and use object.assign to modify the prototype for goldfish. So goldfish.prototype. This time we're going to mix this object with can eat and can swim. So you can see composition or mixins gives us great flexibility. So now let's create a new goldfish object, constant goldfish. We set it to a new goldfish and then log it on the console. Goldfish. Okay, here's our goldfish. In its prototype, we have two methods, eat and swim. Now to make this code a bit more readable, we can extract this logic, this line, into a function called Mixin. So on the top, let's define this function, Mixin. We add the target object here, and we want to have one or more sources. Now we don't want to add multiple parameters here like source 1, source 2, because we don't know every time we want to use this function how many arguments we're going to pass here. So to solve this problem, we can use the REST operator in ES6. So we add only one parameter here, sources, and then use the REST operator, which is 3 dots, and this will collect all the arguments and turn them into an array. Now here we add object.assign. We pass the target. Now here, sources is an array. But object.assign needs sources explicitly. We cannot pass an array here. So this time we can use the spread operator to spread an array into multiple arguments. So the syntax is exactly the same, but this time we call this operator spread operator because we are spreading an array into multiple objects. So sources. Now with this new mixin function, we can simplify this code. Instead of using object.assign, we can say mixin person.prototype with can eat and can walk. And similarly, we can use mixin here. And the end result will be exactly the same.